Good morning, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So, I wasn't going to talk about GameStop just because there's so much news going out there. I didn't want to bring any more attention to it, but I've had a few people email me asking me to talk about GameStop. My buddy messaged me this morning, talking about GameStop, so I know it's on everybody's mind what's going on with GameStop. And, really what this comes down to is the Reddit community and the power of the Reddit community, because these guys have a platform and a willingness and ambition to do just about anything out there. I mean, it never ceases to amaze me what the Reddit community can do. And when they caught wind of GameStop being shorted by a hedge fund, they got together and really started pumping money into GameStop stock. And that pumping of GameStop stock has sent it to like ungodly high numbers. Before I started this video, it was trading over 300 in the early morning trade. I think it actually dropped down below 300 as of like actual recording of this video, but it was at 300 at one point. $300 per share. That's up from like $6 just a few months ago. I mean, I don't even know how much money must have gone into it to bring the price up to this sort of level. Now, what the Reddit community was doing was they were trying to damage that hedge fund for taking on a short position on GameStop. And it's kind of complicated to understand what was happening there and how they were able to do this and damage that hedge fund as bad as they have. Because if you're not quite understanding of how a short position works, the easiest way to understand it is like, if you can imagine, like, you see a stock that you think is going to go down. You think the price is going to go from $10 to $5, okay? What you do is a shorting position is you basically pay a fee to borrow the stock from somebody and you sell it on the market. When the price drops, you buy it back and give it back. Okay, does that kind of make sense? So you've borrowed stock, sold it, intending to buy it back at a cheaper price, and you're going to keep the difference in between. That's the short sale. That's how you make money on the market going down. And it's a very common trade. People use it all the time. And hedge funds are no different. And they borrow money and leverage it up so that the amount of money coming out of their pocket is very small and the amount of profit that they get is very large. The only problem is that if that short position works the other way, the amount of money that they can take as a loss can be immense, especially if it's leveraged up as much as the hedge funds like to do it on a drop like that. When it goes into the realms of what has happened with GameStop, where you go from just a handful of dollars up to hundreds of dollars, the losses are immense for a hedge fund. And from what I understand, it was into the tunes of like billions of dollars that this happened. The Reddit community was responsible for this. I mean, they want, these younger people use the platforms like, I would assume, like Cash App or M1 or something like that, Robinhood, and went out there and bought GameStop at any price just to throw money at it to cause the prices to rise to damage this hedge fund. And it worked. Now, I think about that and how effective the Reddit community is, because that was an amazing event. And to think that they're moving on to AMC or BlackBerry right now, it's like a new kind of movement that's almost taken place where, the Reddit community as a whole can take on these big Wall Street firms, and like the power of people, like even if you just have a handful of dollars, but if you have millions of people throwing that money in a particular direction, you can make things happen. And that's what's going on with the Reddit community right now. And I remember like years ago, they did it with Dogecoin. Like they took that cryptocurrency, what was meant to be a joke, and pretty much made it legitimate when they had sponsored a NASCAR. Check it out. Put in Dogecoin NASCAR. And you would see about, I would say is 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago that took place. But it was really crazy because all of a sudden here you see Dogecoin ripping around NASCAR track. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to bring so much attention to Dogecoin to do that. They also voted that particular driver the #1 NASCAR driver nobody had ever heard of him. So that's the power of the Reddit community. They overwhelmingly took over that voting for the #1 NASCAR driver. And being able to sponsor a NASCAR, they could probably do that forever if they were that motivated. And eventually it passed because the motivation eventually ends and people get tired of throwing $20 at something. And that's what's going to happen with GameStop. On the flip side of this is that the people who have stock in GameStop just scored hugely. So this little Reddit movement to try and take on this hedge fund just made a handful of people incredibly rich. If they weren't already rich enough, now they're really rich. So good job, Reddit community. Great job. But that's what happened. And when you're moving on to AMC, same thing's going to happen. Somebody there is going to get really rich on your $20 that you're throwing out there with all the millions of people doing it. See where I'm getting at here, guys? See, this is one of the reasons why I didn't want to bring a whole lot of attention to this thing, but if I let you know, this is what's happening on the backside. It's not all taking on this hedge fund. It's not all about taking on Wall Street and sticking it to them, because there's a handful of people out there who are going to make a lot of money off of you. It's a pump and dump. Okay? And I would be very leery about joining in on those things. I'm not saying, I'm not telling you guys what to do with your money, or if you feel that this is a movement that you need to be part of, that's your game. But I see a handful of people out there who are making a lot of money off of this right now, and only one hedge fund being damaged. So anyway, I got to go into work. Uneducated Economist. You guys let me know.